What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, here to go over UFC Vegas 90. Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis 2. We have a rematch in the main event this week at the Apex. And man, we're coming off a crazy week at UFC Atlantic City where we lost 1.85 units. So we're coming off a losing night. We have to get back on track. And we're recording this on Friday afternoon, man. Weigh-ins have already happened. I was talking to some buddies, and I was like, there's a couple fighters where I want to see how they look on the scale before I decide who I'm picking in their fights. And sure enough, 4 fighters today missed weight, man. We had a fight where both fighters in the fight missed weight. So a crazy day at weigh-ins. But now that we have that information, I feel like we can make some better reads on these fights. And so, yeah, man, without any further ado, let's get right into the fights. And in the very first fight, we have Melissa Mullins, formerly known as Melissa Dixon, taking on Nora Cornolle. Melissa Dixon comes in with an undefeated 6-0 record. She is currently minus 345 on the money line. Nora comes in with a 7-1 record, currently plus 275 on the money line. And right away, guys, the first thing I'll say about this fight is I disagree with that money line. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that we have Mullins here lined at minus 345. I don't know a soul on this planet that's laying 3.45 units on Melissa Mullins to win 1 unit in this fight, or even parlaying her in this fight. As far as the fight goes and who is a better fighter, I do think that Mullins is the rightful favorite here, but that's just so wide to me, man. We have a women's MMA fight here where we have a perceived grappling advantage going the way in Melissa here for her. If she is able to get Nora down, she should be able to pass her guard and really work that ground and pound. When she does get the fight to the ground, in my opinion, I'll be honest, I don't rate Nora that highly of a fighter. On the feet, I do expect her to have the better striking, but it's not by a lot, man. I'm not, sitting here impressed by Nora's variety of strikes, her output, her technique at all. I think that Melissa Mullins is going to cage push, get this fight to the winning track, and work those body lock trips and try to get Nora down. And once she does, I think that she's going to be able to finish this fight. So if anything, there's no way I'm laying minus 345 on Melissa Mullins here. I would rather lay inside the distance or even a sneaky under 2.5 rounds, because I do think that that grappling advantage is just so big that once Melissa gets her down, it's one of those things where either she one takedown wins the round and she's there on top the whole round, the rest of the round, or she takes it down and then finishes it shortly after. So give me Melissa Mullins to win that fight via second round ground and pound. And in the next fight, man, we have another striker versus grappler fight where another fighter has a pretty big grappling advantage. We have Budka taking on Cesar Almeida. Budka comes in with a 7-2 record, currently minus 150 on the money line. While we have Cesar Almeida coming in with an undefeated 4-0 record, currently plus 125 on the money line. Now, right away, you can see that right there. 4-0. How are we in the UFC? How do you have 4 professional fights fighting in the UFC? Well, it's because he's a very good kickboxer, man. This guy's been a professional kickboxer outside of the UFC for a very long time. And that's, on one hand, good because he does have professional fight experience before the UFC. He's a competent striker for sure, a very dynamic and powerful striker, but he's also 36 years old, and it took him forever to get into the UFC. He was probably someone that, figured he was going to be a kickboxer the whole time. He probably saw Pereira and people like Adesanya transferring to MMA and getting these crazy checks. Well, he decided to throw his hat into the ring, and now he is in the UFC. And I believe that the UFC are trying to fast track him because they have a 36-year-old powerful striker that they're giving a wrestler here, so they're giving him a test right away again. He looked good in this Contender Series fight where he did have to defend the grappling here because, man, anyone that fights Cesar Almeida, they're going to try to wrestle him, man. They're going to try to get this guy down because on the feet, you're going to get cracked by this dude. The guy's very long, very powerful, and he's dangerous on the feet, man. It's just that Budka actually has some pretty good wrestling and grappling of his own right. And another thing that he has going in his direction in this fight is that he is 12 years younger here, man. Cesar Almeida, 36 years old, while Budka, 24 years old. So, man, he's going to be pushing the pace here all 3 rounds, really. And he's going to be trying to get this guy down throughout the whole fight. And if he does, he might be able to keep Cesar Almeida down on his back and pin him and ride him out the rest of the way. But on the mat, I really don't think that he's that dangerous finishing-wise. I just think that he's control-wise, he will be able to get Cesar down. But I'm actually going with an underdog here in this pick. I'm going with Cesar Almeida at plus 125. I don't know if I'll be betting it here because, man, I hate when someone has just so big of a gap in one of their skill sets, that being the grappling here of Almeida here. But give me Cesar Almeida to win this fight, man. I think that he's a very powerful, strong guy. And I know he doesn't have that much experience, and I know it's pretty obvious the blueprint on how to beat him. I'm going with Almeida, man. Give me the striker here because recently we've been seeing in the UFC, and this isn't the only reason I'm picking him, but this is a factor. Recently in the UFC, we've been seeing the judges not really factor the control time, man. You can control a guy for 3 minutes, 4 minutes of an entire round, and if they get up and just put a flurry on you, it doesn't have to be that big of a strike, really. The judges are going to favor you, so it seems that they're really favoring damage over control here, so, or at least recently. So give me Cesar Almeida, the striker, to win this fight as an underdog. And up next, I wouldn't say this is a striker versus grappler as much, but a similar style fight, man. We have Matsumoto making his UFC debut against Dan Argueta. Matsumoto comes in with an undefeated 14-0 record, currently minus 160 on the money line. He's fighting Dan Argueta, who comes in with a 9-1 record, currently plus 135 on the money line. Now, this is tough because I'm going with Gene here. I'm going with Matsumoto in this fight, but man, Dan Argueta 100% has a path to victory in this fight. One thing you need to know about Dan Argueta is that he's relentless with his takedowns and with his grappling. I'll be honest though, I have never been high on Dan Argueta. I'm not starting here. I'm not going to pick him here. Give me Gene Matsumoto. I just think that Dan Argueta is just kind of mid, man. I like his grappling. He's very relentless, and he has very good cardio and fight IQ in that sense, because he'll be pushing it the whole round, whole fight. But man, like on the feet, I think Gene Matsumoto is way faster in this fight. I like the variety of strikes from him. I like his kicks for sure to the body will slow down Argueta, and definitely to the calves will limit his movement. But man, on the feet, I think he can catch Dan Argueta. I can see Dan Argueta getting Gene down, especially in that first round early. And then that live line, because he's 160 before the fight, I can see that line coming down if he does drop that first round. And that's probably where I would try to get in on Gene Matsumoto. But man, I'm going with Gene Matsumoto in this fight. I think that he's a good prospect coming out of Brazil with dangerous striking and good enough defensive wrestling here to not get submitted. As far as offensive wrestling here, I wouldn't be surprised to see him shoot for a takedown here and mix things up against Dan Argueta, who, in my opinion, is coming into this fight thinking he has a huge grappling advantage. But man, I've just never have liked him since the Ultimate Fighter, and I've just never been impressed with him. So give me Gene Matsumoto to get his first UFC win as a favorite. So minus 160 on the debutante there. Give me Gene Matsumoto. And up next, we have Norma Dumont taking on Germaine de Randamie, GDR, the Iron Lady, returning after a huge layoff. Crazy fight that this is even happening, and this is one of the fights where I wanted to see the weigh-ins, and sure enough, they both made weight totally fine. That kind of surprised me. We have Norma Dumont coming in with a 10-2 record, currently minus 125 on the money line. She is fighting GDR, who comes in with a 10-4 record, currently plus 105 on the money line. Now, yeah, a lot of outside factors going into this fight. First of all, GDR on the right here, on the right-hand side of your screen, she hasn't fought in like 4 years. Like, let's see how long ago this was. 3 years and 6 months ago. She hasn't fought in 3.5 years. But that's weird because I thought she retired. I thought she straight up hung it up, retired, and, wasn't going to pursue fighting anymore. But her skill set isn't terrible, guys. Like, she is not like a bum. She is not a bad fighter. She is a dangerous striker with good defensive wrestling and good enough defensive grappling to keep it upright, man. She is powerful on the feet and super long with pretty good speed. Only thing that worries me here in this fight is that she's coming off a 3.5-year layoff, and she just had a kid. And when you have a baby or you have a child here, women's MMA fighters don't really tend to come back the same unless you're Amanda Nunes. So, it's tough. If this was 3 years ago, the line would be way different. I feel like GDR would be like a minus 150, minus 175 favorite in this fight. But let's look at Norma Dumont. So Norma Dumont comes in on a 3-5 winning streak where she cashed for us in her last fight, and I think it's fair to say that she wants to grapple in this fight. She wants to get her hands locked on GDR here and trip her and get her down on the mat. On the feet, if it plays out for a 15-minute striking fight at distance here, I gotta go with GDR. But it's just I think that Norma is going to be able to mix in the wrestling here and the striking. We actually do think that she's going to win this fight. I know that the line has come down earlier in the week. Norma Dumont was around minus 150. She's all the way down to minus 125. Money's pouring in on the 39-year-old JDR here in this fight. But like I said, if she wasn't coming off a huge layoff, wasn't coming off having a child, and if she wasn't 39 years old, I probably would be picking her in this fight. She has a very good skill set. And if she wins this fight, she's right back in the rankings, man. It's kind of a crazy situation. But give me Norma Dumont, man. Give me Norma Dumont to win this fight, mix it in, and win a very close decision. This isn't one of my hardcore, like, super confident picks or anything. I'm going with Norma Dumont, man. Give me the dump truck Norma Dumont to win this fight. Oh, my gosh. Up next, we have a banger of a fight, man. I can't wait for this fight. My whole day is, like, revolving around this fight. I can't wait to sit down and watch this fight, man. It's going to be sick. So we have Trevor Peek taking on Charlie Campbell. Trevor Peek comes in with a 9-1 record, currently plus 145 on the money line. He's fighting Charlie Campbell, who comes in with an 8-2 record, currently minus 175 on the money line. And I'm going with Charlie Campbell in this fight, man. No disrespect to the GOAT, Trevor Peek. This dude is so exciting. Obviously reminds me of last week we saw Nate Landwehr, that type of fighter, a fan favorite, right? A fighter that's gonna bring it, bring the fight to you, man. He's gonna be pressing forward, gonna be swinging bombs. He wants to make this a brawl. He wants to make this a dirty dogfight, blood everywhere. He wants to scrap. That's how he throws down. But that's one thing that worries me. He has no striking defense, man. Once he gets into wild, long, extended exchanges, he loses all of his technique, man. He's throwing the hammer fist standing up multiple times in multiple fights now. It's kind of his thing, and he leaves his chin out open to get hit all the time. And his head is big, guys. He has a huge Minecraft head. It's enormous, man. On the other side, though, another thing that worries me is Charlie Campbell has bad striking defense, man. We saw him lose on the Dana White Contender Series fight against Chris Duncan, one of the most exciting Dana White Contender Series fights of memory recently. And yeah, man, he was rocking Chris Duncan. He was knocking him all over the octagon, left and right, just hitting everything. Like, he was rocking Chris Duncan. Sure enough, goes all out. He's swinging wild, trying to go for the finish, and he himself gets caught on a counter and slept, dude. Charlie Duncan gets the contract. Charlie Campbell gets hit home. And bro, it was absolutely wild to see. And for me, that showed 2 red flags. Like, I was like, all right, well, I'm never betting on Chris Duncan or Charlie Campbell either. Like, I can't be having a fighter looking like, Jamal Amers rocking their opponent 1 second and then getting rocked themselves 2 seconds later. So I'm definitely worrisome from Charlie Campbell here because, we've seen it, man. We've seen him rock his opponents and then get finished himself. So I think that was actually a good learning lesson here early in his career. As far as their techniques, man, I think Charlie Campbell is a cleaner striker. I think he's quicker to the punch. I don't think he's as loopy or as wide as Trevor Peek, but Trevor Peek's volume and his length is going to be interesting to see here. I know he'll be shorter here in this fight, Charlie Campbell, with 3-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage, but I don't know, man. At the face-offs, they look pretty similar, so I don't know if those numbers are off or what, but I think Charlie Campbell wins this fight for as long as it lasts. I think that it's one of those fights where at any moment the lights can go out for either fighter. And sure enough, sometimes when we get those type of fights, the Gaethje versus Chandlers, they go all 3 rounds. So I think Charlie Campbell has enough to win this fight. I just think Trevor Peek's too hittable, even though Charlie is quite hittable himself. But this should be fireworks. It totally sucks as this is happening in front of the Apex and no fans. Whatever, man. Everyone at home is going to be having a great time watching this fight. Give me Charlie Campbell, round 2 knockout. And up next, man, we have a fight between Court McGee and Alex Morono. Court McGee comes in with a 21-12 record, coming in at plus 240 on the money line. He's fighting Alex Morono, the Great White, who comes in with a 23-9 record, currently minus 300 on the money line. And I actually do agree with this wide favorite. Usually on this channel, you would see, that wide of a line, and I would kind of make a case for the other person because, man, it's MMA. You never know. Someone can sleep on a banana peel, lose their balance and get choked out. Like, someone can throw a kick, get their leg snapped in half, or something crazy can happen. It's MMA. Anything can happen. But, bro, I think Alex Morono is going to crush Court McGee in this fight. For one, there's a huge speed advantage going toward Alex Morono. Alex Morono, 100% should be the better striker in this fight. I actually think that Court McGee really needs to wrestle in this fight. He really needs to get this fight down because at distance for 15 minutes, he's going to get clipped. He's going to get hurt and picked apart by Morono. I feel like Morono at any moment on the feet can finish this fight, really hurt Kurt and put him down bad, rock him and ground and pound, go for the finish after, or he can just pick him apart for 15 straight minutes and win a fight that way. Either outcome wouldn't shock me, but man, I honestly don't know why Court McGee is still fighting, man. He's 39 years old, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, and he's not looking good. He's getting finished, guys, by guys that don't really have that much power. Jeremiah Wells, Matt Brown, those aren't, knockout artists at, in any sense. So I just think that his striking defense, is starting to fade here. He's so slow. I just think Alex Morono has an advantage here everywhere. If Court McGee does get Morono down and is able to control them and steal rounds that way, that would be shocking, man. I'll be honest, a couple fighters have looked good since USADA left the UFC, but it doesn't strike me at Court McGee to be one of those fighters that be on steroids or anything. Bro, give me Alex Morono. This is his fight to lose. I said that last week about a fighter that lost. So, yeah, I actually do agree with this wide favorite. I think Alex Morono finishes Court McGee in that very first round. Even though Morono doesn't really finish anybody like that. And Morono, I gotta say, does tend to fade as fight goes. Round 3, Morono should look way, way more tired than he was in the beginning of the fight, but I don't think he'll get all the way there. I think he finishes Court early. And up next, we have a sloppy heavyweight fight. We have Lukasz Brzeski taking on Valter Walker. Yes, Johnny Walker's brother is fighting, making his UFC debut. Lukasz comes in with a 8-4-1 record, currently plus 190 on the money line. He's fighting Valter Walker, who comes in with an undefeated 11-0 record, currently minus 230 on the money line. It's kind of funny right there. I didn't even notice until right now on the screen on Tapology. They have him as a heavyweight from Russia. I'm pretty sure he's Brazilian. I don't know how that happened or what's going on there with Tapology, but yeah. It's funny, man. I said it at the beginning. He's Johnny Walker's brother, right? And so we all know Johnny Walker, right? This crazy dynamic striker, flashy guy, wild man, all these crazy spinning kicks, and just so overall wild striker, right? And then I watched Valter fight, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened to this guy? This guy is a huge, enormous, slow, flat heavyweight that wrestles. This guy clinches and tries to, smother you like in his fights because he's way bigger and way more athletic than almost every single person he fights. But that's one thing I noticed, guys. He is not that good. He is not that good. I'm shocked at this money line. Like I gotta mention earlier in the week, Walker was like minus 400, minus 425, right? He was a huge favorite, and since then, since Monday, money been pouring left and right on Lukasz Brzeski, man. And I get it. To me, that's people out there being like, "Well, this line is way off. Like, what are we doing? 4-1 favorite? No way for Walker." Like, how is he going to look 4-1? How is he going to look minus 400 in this fight? He's going to have to finish Lukasz in the first, 50 seconds of this fight to cover that price tag, in my opinion. And I don't think he will. But that's the thing. I don't want to fade a bad fighter, in my opinion, in Walker with another bad fighter. Like, Brzeski is not that good, guys. He's an okay striker with a bad grappler, and he's on a 3-fight losing streak with no wins inside the UFC. So I think this is a setup fight. I think the UFC wants Walker to win this fight, but man, I think the bookies messed up big time, making him that big of a favorite earlier in the week. And so at this point, minus 230, that's a little bit more accurate in my opinion. That's where the line should be. But bro, I am not getting behind Walker on the money line. I am not picking him, or sorry, I am picking him, but I'm not betting him. No way. I actually think that he sucks. No offense, bro. Like, he would kill all of us watching this video, bro. No shot. I'm like, no way am I betting Walker. So sure enough, he's going to win and make it look easy. Now, I should have bet on him. But yeah, man, give me Walker to win this fight. I'm actually going to go with a second round ground and pound because I don't know if he has the cardio to last all 3 rounds. If this goes all 3 rounds, that probably means that Brzeski won the fight. Unless he's just getting out-controlled and held to the mat all 3 rounds. But that would be pretty boring and a pretty disappointing fight. So, yeah, I'm sitting back and watching this fight as a fan. I'm not betting this fight at all. No way. But I do think that Walker comes onto the UFC and gets his first win, first fight. And up next, man, we have Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Christian Giagos. Bahamondes comes in with a 14-5 record, currently minus 340 on the money line. He's fighting Christos Giagos, who comes in with a 20-11 record, currently plus 270 on the money line. Now, this actually is a pretty good test for the young Ignacio Bahamondes. He got his butt whipped all over the octagon by Ludovic Klein in his last fight. We actually had money on him, and he let us down. Yeah, man, he lost every single aspect of that fight. He lost the striking. He lost the grappling. He got cut. He looked bad, but it was like a learning lesson, man. He got humbled for sure in that fight, and now they're giving him, an aging fighter in Christos, who should be live earlier in this fight. When this fight is in the beginning stages of the fight, he will look good. He will look, fast and quick and very dangerous. But as the fight goes, as Ignacio starts to land on him and really work that body, I really think that Giagos is going to fade here in this fight. Another guy that has gotten caught for PEDs, and now that USADA is gone, who knows? He might be back on him. So we don't know how he's going to look. So that's definitely worrisome. I used to, at the beginning of the year, kind of joke about that, but now it's like getting serious, right? Chris Weidman's coming out looking hella good. Like OSP's coming out looking hella good. It's worrisome for sure that some of these guys are cheating, or at least not getting tested enough. But yeah, man, so he's 34 years old. I feel like the UFC is trying to get Ignacio a get-right fight here. Very dynamic striker. And I know he lost his last fight and looked horrible, man. I have not lost faith. I still am pretty high on Ignacio. I think he's a pretty good prospect, only 26 years old. And I still think that he's going to be able to find his way. One thing I do hope he limits, though, is that he likes to throw those spinning heel kicks, a lot of spinning and flashy strikes. And I just think that really, drains your gas tank faster than it should. So I really hope to see some, fight IQ improvements here from Ignacio, but we are in the small apex cage, and with his tall frame and long range, it's going to be hard for Christos Giagos to move around at really close range on Ignacio without getting hit himself. So I think that Ignacio has, finishing upside in this fight, definitely can finish this fight, but at the end, I do trust him to win a 15-minute striking fight, kept that range, and win a decision that way. So either a dominant decision for Bahamondes or a late round finish. I'm actually going to go with a late round finish here. I think Ignacio Bahamondes knocks out Giagos in that 3rd round. And up next, we have a banger. This one's a very good fight as well. We have Morgan Charriere taking on Chepe Mariscal. Morgan comes in with a 19-9-1 record, currently minus 120 on the money line, while Chepe, the machine gun Mariscal, comes in with a 15-6 record, currently plus 100 on the money line. And another line that's been on the move, guys, we're recording this on Friday, and so we've seen, we've had time for the lines to marinate and we kind of see what the market's doing. And everybody is betting on Chepe Mariscal. Earlier this week, Morgan Charriere was around minus 150. He's all the way down to minus 120. So money definitely pouring in on Chepe here. And that's because he's a junkyard dog, man. This guy is a stud. He was going to bring the fight to you. He's going to be walking forward, putting that pace on you, putting that pressure on you. And it's up to Morgan Charriere to deal with that, man. He's someone that is more of a finesse striker, in my opinion. He can really be comfortable off that back foot and just being okay being a counter striker. And I don't know if that's going to work for him because one thing that worries me is that Chepe is going to, throw extended combinations. He's not just going to throw a 1-2 back out, 1-2 back out of the pocket. He's going to throw that 3 and 4. He's going to extend those strikes. And if Morgan Charriere can't deal with that, if he can't move out the way, he's going to get clipped on those 3-4s. But at the same time, if Chepe is just going forward the whole time, Morgan is very live to just pick him apart from the outside and counter the whole fight. But that also worries me because it's going to look bad for the judges. Like the guy going forward, putting the pressure on, tends to get the judges favored here, and get the round scored for him. But it's going to be a good fight, man. This is a very well-matched fight. But I'm actually going with Chepe. I do agree with this line movement. I'm going with him. I just think that he's better overall, more well-rounded than Morgan. Morgan is just so sophisticated on the feet. He's very good body shots. We saw in his last fight how dirty and vicious his body shots could be. He finished the fight with body kick. But, man, he really likes to utilize it throughout the whole fight, like whether it be his hands or his kicks. And he's very quick, man. He has very good speed. So, he has some pretty good experience. And I will say, I'm not high on Cage Warriors, man. I know he came from Cage Warriors overseas, and I actually think that organization isn't that good, and a lot of fighters that they produce aren't that good. I know we saw Manon Friot, the French fighter, last week dominate, but this is completely different. So give me Chepe Mariscal to win as an underdog here and give this dude his first UFC loss. And up next, we have a fight had a fighter miss weight here. So this is a weight miss fight here. We have Alexander Hernandez taking on Damon Jackson. Hernandez comes in with a 14-7 record, currently minus 205 on the money line. He's fighting Damon Jackson, who comes in with a 22-6-1 record, currently plus 170 on the money line. And it was actually Alexander Hernandez that missed weight in this fight, which was super surprising. Out of all the fighters on the fight card, he didn't strike me as someone that was in danger of missing weight. Yes, I will say he's a pretty big 145er. He's big and muscular, and he is stacked, but he didn't look crazy sucked up at the scale. He actually missed by 5 pounds and then came back and was 2.5 pounds over. So in that hour and a half window, he actually lost 2.5 more pounds, which to me, I'm like, whoa, that's a tough look. But that sucks because I actually thought that he was going to absolutely body Damon Jackson. I thought that he was going to knock him out in that very first round, finish him, and be quick with it. Like, not really have to worry about anything. But now that he missed weight, I'm like, second guessing myself. I'm kind of surprised that this line hasn't gotten steamed for Damon Jackson now that Hernandez missed weight. Because, bro, Hernandez fades in his fights even if he were to make weight. Even if he didn't make weight totally normal, that first round he'll look good. That second round he'll start to fade. And that third round he is done. He's not there. His hands get low. His striking gets labored. Like, he's not defending takedowns as much. His striking defense is bad when he's tired in that third round. And Damon Jackson's going to be coming forward, pushing that pace the whole time. But I think that if Damon Jackson can survive that first round, he can start to get his takedowns way easier in that second and third round, which should definitely help him, man, because Alexander Hernandez gets taken down by everybody. Like, he lets you in on the takedowns. He'll let you wrap your arms around pretty much every single fight. But, man, he is powerful. Like, for some reason, people react very badly to when they get hit by him. He seems to have very heavy hands, and man, he needs a win. I like betting on teams when I bet NHL that are just desperate for a win, right? They need a desperation win, and I kind of want to apply the same theory here with Alexander Hernandez. I think that he's desperate for a win. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, and he's not looking good either, man. Billy Q really put it on him. And we just saw what happened to Billy Q. I know, and one thing I do like going for Hernandez in this fight is that he is 31 years old, still in his prime, even though he missed weight. Fighting a 35-year-old, soon-to-be 36-year-old Damon Jackson, who is quite hittable, man. I will say, I know they're not the same level of fighter, but man, Ilya Topuria's combo, the way he finished Damon Jackson, to me, lives rent-free in my head forever. That's one of my favorite all-time combos, body, head. I mean, golly, he took some years off Damon Jackson's life. And so, yeah, man, Damon Jackson came into this fight with a new haircut. He got hair transplants. That's never good. Give me Alexander Hernandez to win this fight. I still think he's going to finish Damon Jackson, but now that he missed weight, I am less confident. And now it's time for the main event, guys. So do me a favor real fast. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think so far about the video. Who do you have so far on your bets? Who are your locks? Who are your underdogs? What do you have for your bets this week, man? Yeah, so we have a rematch, guys. Brendan Allen taking on Chris Curtis in the main event. Brendan Allen coming in with a 23-5 record, currently minus 220 on the money line, while Chris Curtis comes in with a 31-10 record, currently plus 180 on the money line. Now, it's funny, man. The guy that actually won last fight, actually via knockout, is plus 180 in this fight. So that's super interesting. And that's because, to me, they're in two opposite directions here. Brendan Allen, since that fight, is purely ascending, right? He's going up and up. He's actually getting close to a title fight here if he were to win this fight. While Chris Curtis, since that fight, has kind of become a figured out commodity in the UFC. Everyone knows what to expect from Chris Curtis. He's going to shell up. He's going to have that Philly shell. He's going to roll with your punches. He's going to jab a lot. He's going to be super hard to take down. And yeah, man, he's just going to be striking with you the whole time. He's looking to be for that. He's going to look for that big punch. He's going to rip the body a lot. And that's just how he fights, man. He's very compact on the feet, and he's very smart as well with his shot selection. But it's just that in his most recent run, he hasn't looked the best, man. I actually am betting against Chris Curtis all the time. I bet on Kevin Gastelum. We won that. And I bet against him with Nasruddin Imavov, and we should have won that because he was on his way to lose that fight, and he didn't look good. And that's one thing that worries me in this fight, was that Nasruddin was able to grab and take the back of Chris Curtis without really having to shoot an open mat takedown. The way he got his back was kind of an exchange, and Curtis kind of got himself out of position in the clinch. And then he got his back taken. And so someone like Brendan Allen, if he were to take down Chris Curtis, which, man, I do struggle to see him do, but he doesn't kind of need to, like, just in the clinch. If you can cage push this guy in the clinch and really work from there, that's where I think Brendan Allen will have some success in the grappling in this fight. But I actually don't think he's going to win this fight. I'm going with Chris Curtis, man. I'm going with Chris Curtis, the underdog in this fight, plus 180. I feel like Chris Curtis, like in many of his fights, won't respect the takedown threat from Brendan Allen. And I think that he'll be safe, man. I know that he's 36 years old. He's getting up there in age. Brendan Allen is 28. We have an 8-year age gap going in the favor of Allen. I mean, guys, Brendan Allen is 8 years younger, 4 inches taller, and has the same, or he has a smaller reach, which was actually kind of crazy. So he has a 4-inch height advantage. He's also 8 years younger. So, man, like, it's kind of tough to go against those kind of, traits, but I just think that Chris Curtis is a sophisticated striker enough, and he's gonna be able to land on Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen in his last fight was getting his head snapped back by, I think Bruno Silva, and that's just not a good look, man. He's quite hittable in most of his fights. With just the volume that Chris Curtis is going to put out, I feel like he will catch Brendan Allen at some point, if not just win a decision. And that's another thing. I really am looking forward to Chris Curtis in a 5-round fight. In a 3-round fight, I would favor Brendan Allen way more because the ability to win minutes and secure minutes with the grappling is probably way higher in a 3-round fight than a 5-round fight because, or at least if he does it early, Chris Curtis can get put behind the 8-ball quickly. Rather than if it's a 5-round fight, he loses those early rounds, he still has those late rounds to build or even finish Brendan Allen. So I think the 5-round favors Chris Curtis. I think the short cage favors Chris Curtis in this fight. So give me Chris Curtis to win as an underdog, man. Give me him at plus 180 to win this fight. So that'll do it, guys, man. That's the video for this week. Super fast. Man, I felt like while I was recording, I was talking crazy fast. It's just one of those things where, I came out on Friday, so I had to get it out quick. Yeah, man, good luck this week. We're looking to bounce back. Had a losing week last week, but UFC 300 is next week, the best card of all time. I can't wait for that. The video should be out on Tuesday night. So yeah, a little bit earlier. I'll be at the face-offs. I'll be at the weigh-ins. I'll be at the press conference, man. So should be a great time in Vegas. If you're at any of those events, hit me up and we'll meet up for sure. So yeah, man, good luck on your bets this week, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.